Hi, everyone. We're going to give it a few minutes for people to have a chance to join the call, and then we will get started. All right. The number seems to be slowing down a little bit, so we'll get started and people will still have a chance to join us. But hello, super excited to have everyone on the call this morning, at least from Durham, North Carolina. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning here, but I know it's a different time for everyone around the globe right now. But regardless of what time it is, we really appreciate you making the time to join us online and hear a bit about the international student experience here at Duke University. My name is Catherine. I am an intern here at the Office of Undergraduate Admissions, and I'll be moderating our international student panel today. Before we get started, I know the chat is already going off a little bit, but I would love to see where everyone is zooming in from, especially since this event is tailored to our international audience. I already see Nepal in the chat. If you would like to pop that in the chat, that would be awesome. Okay, I see Shanghai, Morocco, India, Singapore, London, Brazil, Hong Kong, Mumbai, London. Okay, wow, we're really coming from all over, so that's awesome. I'd also love to know what time it is where you're zooming in. South Korea. All right, 6:30 in the afternoon, 7 p.m., 10 p.m., 9 p.m., 2 p.m. Okay, awesome. So it looks like nobody else had an early wake up like our panelists, which is really awesome. But we're going to get started, and I'm going to hand it over to Sarah to introduce herself.
Hi everyone. My name is Sarah. I'm originally from Singapore and I'm a senior studying environmental science and policy. Even though I am from Singapore, I actually went to a boarding school in Japan for 3 years during my high school years. So I do have a bit of international experience and I applied through the international admissions route. Um, some things I do on campus, other than being a tour guide, which I really, really love, is I am really involved in multicultural affairs. I was part of the Singaporean Students Association Executive Board for a year. And I've worked with the Center for Multicultural Affairs, the Duke International Student Center, and the list really goes on. I also have the really great privilege of being part of two incredible research labs. I study protests and climate change in one, and in the other, I study neurobehavioral toxicology, specifically in zebrafish and rats. So those are some really cool experiences I've had. I also like to volunteer in the community. I'm part of First Generation Investors, where we go out into Durham public high schools and teach them personal finance. And in the other, I am also um, a mentor for the Health and Environmental Scholars Program, where we guide high school seniors and high school juniors towards STEM-oriented careers and education. Um, yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm really excited to talk to you today. I'll pass it over to Jiaheng.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everyone. My name is Jahong. I'm a freshman, also from Singapore. Just a coincidence today. Yeah, so it's been my 8th week here on campus, and yeah, I'm so excited to share with all of you about any first year experiences you guys might have questions about. So I'm intending to major in public policy and economics, which also happen to be one of our most popular majors here on campus. Before coming to Duke, I served 2 years in the Singapore Army, and then after my military service, I actually was part of the Duke Gap Year program, which is this really cool program that Duke offers that basically allows you to do um, basically anything that you want in your gap year that's beneficial to you and to your experiences. So I went solo backpacking for 6 months around the world, and that has been an adventure of a lifetime. Coming to Duke, I'm in Focus, which is our first year signature academic program, where you have classes surrounded a certain theme or topics. So my focus cluster is called "It's Not Too Late to Build a Better World." So we talk about minor utopias, we talk about neoliberalism, we talk about documenting youth studies. Basically, it's a very diverse interdisciplinary set of courses that you can take, and they're all small groups. So my classes are around 15 people in each class, and it's just really nice to get that one-on-one interaction with the professor. Outside of academics, I'm also involved in Scaling Point, which is our on-campus pre-professional business organization. So we learn about finance, consulting. You do get a bit of social experience as well with your community. So that has been a really big part of my first day experience so far. I'm also doing volunteering through the Duke Partnership for Service Fellowship, which connects Duke students with local organizations in Durham. So I'm working with ACO, which is this entrepreneurship incubator that teaches innovation to underprivileged high school students in Durham. Yeah, and in my free time, I like to read, I like to run, and also rock climb.
Awesome. Thank you both. We're going to start out a bit more zoomed out, so not even Duke specific. And I'm just going to ask both of you the same question of why you decided to attend university in the United States. And then to piggyback on that a little bit, were there particular resources that you used to help you put together your application, whether that's for Duke or for other institutions?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just go ahead and start first. So for me, I was really looking for a liberal arts oriented education. I wasn't particularly set on what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to study environmental science, but I did want to have the option to explore, and studying in the US really gave me the option to um, sort of figure out what I wanted to do before declaring a major. And also, it would give me the opportunity to have a really well-rounded, holistic education that would not only put me on track for, say, the natural sciences, which I was most interested in, but it will also give me the chance to experience subjects in the humanities and the arts, and so on and so forth. Um, both of my parents also went to school in the United States for their college years, so they really encouraged me to do that. In terms of resources, I really didn't use anything but my high school college counselor. I went to a small boarding school, so it was pretty insular, pretty isolated, but I really turned to a lot of online resources that would sort of guide me on how to format my applications, things like that. But mostly I relied on college counselors.
Yeah, I think for my reasons, I think in many parts kind of similar to Sarah's. I think the US, its liberal arts curriculum, it's one of the biggest tools for me, and that you don't have to commit to a major coming in as a freshman, and then you actually only declare in the second semester of sophomore year, which is your second year. I think that flexibility really allows you to explore different courses. And I also like that it's really very flexible. So like you don't have to do a single major, you could double major. So for me, I wanted to explore public policy slash political science because that was something I was interested in. But I was also interested in economics, the more like financial side of things. So in a typical curriculum, you wouldn't get to do that because that's going to be more challenging to kind of configure that course. But in the US, with most liberal arts curriculums, it's super easy to double major and just explore in different fields. So that was a big draw for me. I also felt like the academic year is a lot more balanced in that academics is not your number one priority, although it very well could be if you choose to do that. But I think the social life is also a big part of your college experience, and that was something I personally valued. In terms of resources, yeah, I don't think I used much external resources. I went to a very big competitive public high school in Singapore, so mainly just my teachers, some seniors who have had success applying to schools in the US, some family members. and that's about it. Yeah, most of the time I think I relied on the school websites. So when applying to Duke, I think the Duke website was a great resource to learn more about Duke, especially as international students. We don't really get a chance to tour campus physically. So I think the website was a big part of my resource bank in terms of learning more about the colleges I wanted to go to.
Awesome. Thank you both. Those were excellent answers. I see a few questions already coming in the chat. If you have questions as you're watching this panel, we're going to open it up for Q&A after getting through some more structured questions. So please use the Q&A feature on Zoom to put any questions. And I already see Sarah is typing an answer to one of them. So our panelists will either answer questions in the Q&A or I'll pose them towards the end of this call. So as questions pop up, feel free to put them in there and we're going to get to as many as possible. So moving on, I know we talked a little bit about social life, activities being that other component to college, not just academics, right? So I know, Sarah, you mentioned the Singaporean Students Association, but are you both involved in any activities on campus that allowed you to meet other people that either share your culture or are other international students? What has that presence and transition been like?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've been here for 3 years, and I think the Singaporean Students Association did make up a huge part of my involvement in multicultural affairs. By being on exec, I got to collaborate and work with all sorts of organizations, including Duke Dia, which is our South Asian organization, the Chinese Students Association, the Taiwanese Students Association. It's a really long laundry list. But other than that, I also had so many opportunities to participate in programs and events being put on by the Duke International Student Center. They're an excellent, excellent organization who really support all things international student. Um, some of my favorite things that they do is they have these occasional or even bi-weekly or weekly trips to various Asian supermarkets or halal markets. So it's really fun to just kind of hop on a bus on a random Friday, get to meet a bunch of other international students and just, be able to reconnect with my personal identity and all of that. Yeah, the Center for Multicultural Affairs is another really great resource for me. I kind of just go to their little home office in the Bryan Center, um, kind of just hang out there. I get to talk to a lot of really wonderful staff. Often I'll also meet other people who are also international students or have a very diverse cultural background, and I get to chatting with them. It's really great to meet people like that.
Sorry, just typing in some messages in the Q&A. Yeah, for me, I think very similar to Sarah. I think as a freshman, especially, I think transitioning from high school to college is always a little bit challenging because you're adapting to a new environment, it's a new campus, new people. But I think yeah, having like multicultural like identity centers are really, really helpful. So of course I came from Singapore, so I was quite involved in interacting with seniors who were also from Singapore. But I would say like it really goes beyond that because I have many other friends who like Filipino, Hawaiian, Korean, and they always invite me to the events that their cultural identity centers hold. And I think that's the beauty of being here at Duke. Really, there's a lot of um, clubs, cultural centers that it's available and it's present and active on campus, and they always host many, many events. So I think 2 weeks back, I went for the one hosted by the Filipinos Cultural Student Association. We had like halo halo, which is this Filipino dessert. My good friend, he lives right across me in my dorm. He is like Filipino, so he was just asking me to go with him to this event, and that was the first time I tried halo halo. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic way to build relationships with people around you. Even though you might not be from the same cultural background, I think being able to share in this like community being able to understand more about their culture, their food. I think that is a really amazing part of the first year experience. Yeah, so I think you definitely have your own little space, your own community with people that who are from where you are from. But also, like, I think it's a very open space. For example, our Singaporean Student Association dinners are never only for Singaporeans. They are for like everyone. So many of my friends are like, "Oh, you having a chicken rice this week? Oh, can I pull up?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." It's always a very friendly and open environment, and I think that's really my experience so far. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. I'm reading a lot of the questions that are coming in. There's some awesome questions being asked. This is going to be a very general and broad question, but there are a lot of questions with the word adjustment in it or adjusting. So let's talk about the first year experience. I know we have a freshman and a senior on the call, so we'll get kind of the bookends of the freshman year experience. But what was the first year experience like? What resources did you think were like super helpful, whether that's programs um, or advisors you were given? Like, what made Duke feel like home, and when did that transition start to happen?
Well, it's been a while since I was a freshman, so I think Diahong would be more oriented to answering this properly, but from what I remember, at least a long, long time ago, um, I think that, well, the word adjustment is very strong to me because it took me a while to adjust, honestly speaking. I think coming to the US was a little bit of a culture shock. I don't know if I was fully mentally prepared for it. But once I actually did get here, of course, I was faced with like a ton of nerves and all of that. But one thing that, in a sort of reverse kind of way, that I didn't do that I wish I did was actually experiential orientation. It used to be called pre-orientation. And the main difference with that program now is that it's mandatory. So, and also paid for. So all of you, if you come to Duke, will be doing it. But in my time, it was an optional program. And I came to campus having not done it a week after a lot of people had. And I really felt like I was like 10,000 steps behind because everybody had already established these really great friend groups through these amazing experiences that they got to do during their orientation week, like camping, hiking, going to DC to learn about US politics. And they were all these really unique, tailored experiences that I really felt like I missed out on. Um, so it took me a little longer than the rest, to adjust, so to say. But I had some really great advisors. My first year advisor was absolutely incredible. He really told me, "Oh, you should really go to this event. It's going to be great. I'll be there. I'll introduce you to some people." I also had a really amazing Blue Devil buddy who was a senior undergraduate at the time. We had very similar interests. She also introduced me to her social circles. Um, and of course, just being in the dorms and living with all of these other freshmen in freshman exclusive dorms and on a freshman exclusive campus was, I think, ultimately one of the best things that could have happened for me in freshman year because I didn't feel like I was the only one who was nervous about being in a new place or being away from home, things like that. Yeah, Hung, I think you'll have a more fresh experience.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I think coming in as a freshman, it's like I mentioned, always nerve-wracking. But yeah, so recently I think Duke has moved to this model where we have experiential orientation for all first years. So experiential orientation basically are, I think, 15 projects. They're each focused on a particular team. So like I was in Project Build, which stands for Building Undergraduate Involvement in and Life in Durham. So what we did was just explore Durham. We did a little volunteering. We had like uh, ice popsicles. We had like Cookout, which is this like southern fast food chain. We went to trampoline park at night in like crazy outfits. Like basically it's just a really, really fun experience. I would say I really, really enjoyed my orientation experience, which was about 5 days, because I think it was a great introduction to life in America because I've never lived in the US. So I think this was a great way to immerse myself in American culture and learn more about Durham, which is the place that you'll be spending 4 years if you come to Duke. Yeah, but I think orientation itself is just a way for you to break through this like new environment. But subsequently, there's a lot more resources. For example, in terms of academics, you have like a first year advisor, which is someone that will help you answer any questions you might have about course selection. And even after that, you will have your major advisors. So if you want to go into say like public policy like me, you will be paired with like a pre-major advisor who can advise you on what courses to take in public policy, based on your interests. So it is a very supportive kind of environment where you have a lot of resources. Yeah, so I would say in general, I think first experience. Oh yeah, I also want to talk about dorms, like residential experience. So at G, we have two campuses. We have West Campus and East Campus. They're not too far from each other. They're about 1.5 miles, and it is connected by the C1, which is our bus service that connects East and West. So West Campus is like the main campus, right? It is where most students live and most classes are held. But we also have East Campus, which is for first year students only. So all freshmen would live on East. And I think that has been a really, really great way to bond with your fellow peers who are just also freshmen because it makes meeting up, just hanging out so much more easy and accessible because we're all in the same space. We also have like our own freshman dining hall, freshman library. I mean, right now it's under renovation, but I'm sure when you guys come in, it's gonna be open. So yeah, I think it is a great way to foster bonds amongst people who are also going through the same phase of life as you, trying to adjust to college. And in general, I think everyone's super open to making friends in freshman year. So I've had no problems in that aspect. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So I was hoping that would come up, that East Campus is our residential campus for freshmen only, where you'll be living your first year exclusively with freshman class, which I think helps as a transition, for anyone coming to Duke, right? Whether you're international or domestic. Um, I think maybe on the topic of dorms, I saw more questions that go beyond freshman year for dorms. Do you live in the dorms all of the years? And questions like that. So I think Sarah, being a senior, do you want to run us through kind of what happens after your freshman year and living on East Campus?
Absolutely. So, um, like Jiaheng said, we have two campuses, and during freshman year, you spend all your residential time on East Campus. Dorms are assigned randomly, so you'll either be in a double, or if you listed a single as your preferred room style, you may or may not get that. There are limited spots, so it is very much random, but your living preferences are taken into account. However, from your sophomore year going onwards, you can choose your roommate or you can opt to have a single room again as space allows. Um, and we have this system called QuadX. The easiest way to sort of explain QuadX is it's kind of like Hogwarts houses. Um, so essentially, you'll have two freshman dorms from East Campus affiliated with a West Campus quad, which is sort of like a general area or collection of buildings. And this quad will essentially serve as your 4 year long residential community. So once you enter freshman year in a specific dorm, you'll be tied to that quad for all 4 years. And so going into sophomore year, you'll list your preferences within your quad itself. But once you're a junior or a senior, you also have the option of accessing off-campus apartment or, well, technically on-campus apartments, or Hollows Quad, which is basically suite style living on West Campus itself. Um, Housing is guaranteed for all 4 years, especially for international students. That's really, really useful, because navigating those kinds of resources is a little more difficult being international. Um, but you have the option of moving off campus only in your senior year. So 3 years mandatory, 4 years guaranteed. I personally chose to stay on campus all 4 years, so even now I am still in my quad. I'm still living in my quad because I absolutely love the room I'm in. I have a nice, really big single in Craven. Um, and I felt like it was just the right fit for me personally and what I needed. It was practical on campus, so close to all my classes and all of the things I needed to participate in. So it saves me a lot of time and a lot of energy for transport. But yeah, that's a little bit about how it works.
Okay, awesome. And then I think the next fitting thing to talk about, which is kind of like living adjacent, is the topic of living in Durham. So not the exact room that you're living in, but the city that you're calling home when you move to the US. Um, I would love for both of you to answer this question with about 2 months in Durham and 3.5 years in Durham. But if you want to talk a bit about what it's like to live in Durham, if it's comparable to any other places that you've been, and maybe some of your favorite things that draw you off campus.
So yeah, Hung, would you like
Um,
to go first?
yeah, I could go first. I think Sarah will have more to say because she has obviously had more time here. But yeah, I'd say like in my limited time here, which is about 2 months, I would say Durham has been surprisingly like a more interesting experience than I thought it would. Because I think as someone who has grown up in like Singapore, I think that's a very big cosmopolitan kind of city kind of vibe. Like coming to Durham, I thought, it was just gonna be mainly me staying on campus and not having the opportunity to kind of move off campus much for activities. But I think that is not really true because there is a lot of stuff you can do off campus. So I think as a freshman, one of the places I go the most is Ninth Street, which is basically this row of shops, restaurants, just a 10-minute walk from East Campus. So on Ninth Street, there are like a lot of different restaurants selling all kinds of cuisines. You'll be surprised that, in North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina, you have like really good Indian food, like ramen, Chinese food. We have like hot pot. We also have like Peruvian food. Yeah, so like a lot of restaurants on Ninth Street that are really interesting and they're also really good. And also we also have like Whole Foods and Harris Teeter, just a 10-minute walk from East Campus. So I think Durham, it's actually really diverse. You're not really like kind of trapped onto campus. You can move off campus to do things. Yeah, and also like my roommate, my roommate has a car, so like that has been also really helpful in exploring Durham. So like on the weekends we would drive like Zaxby's, which is like this like fried chicken fast food place. He's like, you have to try Zaxby's, we just go to Zaxby's. We also went to South Point, which is this like mall about 15-minute drive away from Duke's campus. There you can buy a lot of like clothes or like whatever you need for college. So yeah, I would say like Durham, it's far more interesting than I expected, and in a good way, of course. And I think downtown Durham as well has a lot of food options. But so far, I've only tried like one or two places, so I can't really say that I know too much about the food scene in downtown Durham. But based on what I've explored around campus, in Ninth Street, I'd say yeah, I've been quite impressed so far.
Yeah, so similar to Jiang, I love my food. So Durham is a very foodie city. There's a whole array of different cuisines you can try. But to kind of diversify my answer a little bit, I also really love being outdoors, and North Carolina is absolutely gorgeous. Near Durham alone, we have Falls Lake and Jordan Lake not too far away. I love going there and just sitting and reading a book sometimes. I also love going hiking at, River State Park, which is quite literally 10 to 15 minutes away from campus. And right on campus itself, We have the Duke Forest. I often go running on the Albular Trail. So just exploring the wildlife and the nature in North Carolina has been a very special experience for me over the years. I usually spend my fall breaks or sometimes even my Thanksgiving breaks because I can't necessarily fly all the way back home to Singapore. Just going and exploring different parts of North Carolina or the state surrounding. Um, a few years ago, I had the incredible opportunity to go out to Western North Carolina, which isn't that far out, but I spent a few days in the mountains, which was really gorgeous. And on in that same break, I believe it was a Thanksgiving break, I got to go to the beach as well on the other side of North Carolina in the east. So you really just get this huge array of options when you want to really spend some time outdoors. Um, that's not really your thing. I also love going to cafes in and around Durham. I often go to a lot of live shows being put on in little sort of like back rooms and small stages in cafes. I've really been able to connect with that sort of music scene in Durham, which is very, very lively if you know where to look. Um, yeah, that's a little bit. I think Jiahun covered a lot of things that I also like to do, like going to go eat on Ninth Street or another thing is the Durham Farmers Market, which is really fun. It's every Saturday pretty much. I just like going and looking at all the vegetables and the flowers and things like that. They also have some really fun arts and crafts as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The last like major theme I see in these questions are around the athletics. So I don't know if this question would be a bit better for Sarah if um, basketball season hasn't rolled around yet, especially since a lot of the questions have to do with basketball. I know our freshman class are probably readily awaiting the kickoff of basketball season in a month or so. But if you want to touch a little bit about what it's like to engage with Duke athletics in general, the ticketing process, and of course, some people are alluding to the camp out for the UNC game as well.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, Duke is a huge sporty school. I coming to the US did not know anything about basketball or American football. So I was a total noob coming in. But the second you step on Duke's campus, you will be educated about sports. At Duke, a lot of our student traditions center around sports. One big one, like Catherine mentioned, is this big camp out, also known as tenting, um, leading up to the big rivalry game against our rival school, UNC Chapel Hill, during men's basketball season. So, for about 3 to 6 weeks during the winter in the spring semester, students will, one, take a really long exam about all things Duke men's basketball, including questions like player stats, team stats, what is the name of Jared McCain's dog, um, and all of this just to get a spot in this tent where you sleep outside for that duration of time until the game, 24/7 with 9 other people in your tent, just so you can get into the student section of that game. And one really fun thing that happens if and when we do win that game. And this last happened during my sophomore year, so 2 years ago in 2022. Um, when we win against UNC, we like to take a big bench out onto our main quad, Able Quad, um, with permission from the fire marshals. We set it on fire, becomes a little bonfire. We all run around, sort of like celebrating the win. It's a very fun tradition. Um, and you really see the entire school come together. Um, Other than that, with all our other incredible D1 sports, I often go watch our men's soccer games as well as our women's volleyball games, just because I have friends on those teams. But all students get free tickets to any sporting event. The only real payment is you waiting in line sometimes for the bigger games or having to register a ticket for our big football games as well. Um, but yeah, no, school spirit really is at its peak when we're engaging in sports, I would say.
Awesome. That's great. And a really great overview of how the sports work. And it's definitely one of those things that's tied to the word spirit. There were a few questions that said, like, how do you feel spirit on Duke's campus? And I would say sports is definitely one of those major things that does bring us together. As I'm looking through here for another good question, I know Thanksgiving break is coming up, but a few people were asking about what you do for travel plans regarding staying on campus or going home. How often do you go home? Are you allowed to stay on campus for breaks and things like that? The logistics behind being an international student.
Yeah, I can go ahead and answer that first since Jiaheng's only had one break so far. Um, yeah, so I typically try to go home at least once or twice a year. Um, Definitely during Christmas and um depending on my summer plans, I try to go home during summers as well, at least for part of it. I know some students go home more often than that or less than that, depending on where they live and what their um and how readily available they can do that. So I'm very privileged to be able to go home in the first place, but um I would say that with the shorter breaks, especially with things like fall break, spring break, and Thanksgiving break, of course, flying back to Singapore is not exactly feasible for that amount of time because I'll spend 3 hours in Singapore and then have to fly straight back. Um, so typically, I either find a friend who wants to go travel somewhere, say to New York or Florida or California, and we'll go do something fun there. Or I'll stay in North Carolina, which I've done several times before, just exploring the state, staying on campus, and housing is available for those shorter breaks, especially for fall break, spring break, Thanksgiving break. Housing stays open. Dining stays open for fall and spring break and shuts down usually for at least part of Thanksgiving break and winter break. Um, for winter break, you can actually opt in to stay on campus if you need to, if you aren't able to travel home. So campus will remain open if you really require it. You just have to send in a housing application for that short break. Um, yeah, that's usually what I do. Resources pretty much stay available throughout the year as well. So if you have extenuating circumstances that require you to stay on campus, the housing and residence life department usually is very accommodating towards that, especially as an international student.
Yeah, I think I'll chime in on that with my limited experience. But so far, I've experienced just fall break, which is just last week. It was like 5 days, so it really wasn't that long. So during fall break, you could stay on campus. I know many of my friends did. Like international or not international, you can stay on campus during fall break. There's no issue. Only issue possibly would be that the dining hall does not open on East during fall break, but you can always head to West Campus where there's food at the West Union anyway. So it's not an issue. You will not go hungry. But yeah, for fall break, I think a lot of options for what you want to do. So I actually went to Orlando with a couple of friends because we snagged like tickets for actually like $90 round trip. I think it's surprising, but I think Durham is actually really conveniently located to many major cities. So like it's an hour by plane to New York. Orlando is like 1.5, 2 hours from Durham as well. So yeah, like it's always possible to find a good deal if you know where you're looking for flight tickets. And yeah, I think my gap year experience has helped me a lot in that aspect. So yeah, we got really good deals for our tickets and we had an amazing 3 days in Orlando. But I would say like in general, like for example for Thanksgiving, I think it's not hard at all as an international student because I've had like four American friends invite me to their house to spend Thanksgiving with them, and it's just so sweet of them to. I think everyone's really aware that obviously as internationals, you're not going to be going home for a 5 day break. So I think it's people are very, very open to inviting you into family dinner for Thanksgiving, and I've been so appreciative of that. So I'm actually gonna fly up to Connecticut um in November to spend Thanksgiving with one of my friends' family. Yeah, and then afterwards I'll be flying back to Duke. So yeah, it's really nice. You meet many people who are Americans, international students, and yeah, it's really really chill. Yeah.
Awesome. That's so sweet that your friend's family is letting you join for Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's super awesome. So, a bit about a tradition that we do here at Duke, whether it is giving tours on campus, giving virtual tours, or ending any of these panels that we hold online, is something called our Why Duke tradition, where each of our tour guides tells you why they specifically chose Duke compared to other universities. So we can kind of expand on that for this specific panel of why did you choose Duke compared to universities outside of the US, as well as other universities that you were considering inside the US. And would love to hear both of your perspectives on that. So we're going to kick off our Why Duke stories with Sarah.
Course, yeah. So when I was touring colleges and when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the next 4 years of my life, the two big things that I really looked for in a school was one, I wanted to be in a place that was diverse and would offer me new perspectives and new experiences. And inherently, I think moving to a whole different country, let alone continent, would give me all of those things automatically. But in a more specific manner, what I was looking for in a school was the ability to be challenged academically. So I wanted a really strong academic rigor that would also not be toxic in a way. So growing up in Singapore, I was very accustomed to a high level of pressure academically, to sort of be the top of the class. And I really struggled in finding a passion in that environment. And when I moved to boarding school, I had a bit more room to explore, and room to sort of figure out what it is I liked and I didn't like. And so I wanted to continue on that trajectory. And what I saw in Duke, talking to people who went to the school or going on tours and attending virtual information sessions like this, what I gathered was that Duke was a place where students weren't ever going to compete against each other and try to beat each other down just so they could succeed. Duke is a difficult and academically rigorous place and environment, but what's really special about it is that students here prefer to struggle together rather than struggle against each other. Um, and being here has really given me the opportunity to reignite certain passions of mine or discover new ones. Every single person here has that one topic or one passionate subject that they can talk about for hours and hours on end just because it means so much to them and they're so engaged in it through all of their experiences here. For me, that's the environmental science, but the person next to me, it could be something completely different. And that's one of the really special things that I've always loved about this school. And yeah, I could not see myself being anywhere else because of it.
Yeah, I think Sarah did a great job in explaining her why to you. I think it's gonna be hard to top that. But yeah, I think for me, for sure, I think coming to Duke, especially as an international student, that's a huge decision because you're like moving away from everything you're familiar with into somewhere that you might not have toured physically. I didn't tour Duke before coming here. So coming here for orientation, for move-in, was my first time on campus. So I do think there's a lot of nerves associated with moving to a completely different place for college. But I would say my why Duke is really, I think, just how much of a good balance between academics and social life there is at Duke. Um, Again, like I think academics is a priority for me. It's important for me, but I don't want academics to be my default number one priority. I want to be able to choose what kind of experience I have in college. And I think being at Duke, you really see that classes itself, it's designed in a way that it's very interactive. You have a lot of close interactions with your professors. I've had the opportunity to flunch two of my professors. Flunch is Duke's program where Duke gives you money every semester to take your professor out for lunch. And it's just been nice to just know your professors about their professional academic interests, but also as them as people. So I think that really drives home the point where like Duke is really a place where you can really be yourself. I think Duke is also somewhere where I feel really comfortable. And I've made so many good friends from so many different places. So like my focus classes, I've been able to make a lot of good friends from my classes. I think it's always hard to turn classmates into friends, but just yesterday I went rock climbing with one of my classmates from my classes, and I think it's really, really nice. There's a lot of options on campus. I would say there are more options than time you have. So it's just a privilege really to be here, to have those opportunities that you can take advantage of. And I think there is a space for everyone here, no matter what you're interested in, where you're coming from. There's going to be somewhere you feel comfortable in. There are going to be people that you find that you connect to. So yeah, I think so far, I think 8 weeks in, uh, the first like couple of weeks where it's a bit more like iffy, where you feel like, oh, I'm not sure if I can find my people here. I think after a couple of weeks, I think those concerns generally go away. And you can really just feel at ease being here on campus and to be who you are.
Awesome. Those are two really great Why Duke stories. Um, we are going to now wrap up. We want to make sure our panelists get to their 10 a.m. classes on time. That's always a big priority. Make sure we're going to class on time. So, with that, we are going to say goodbye from Durham this morning. We appreciate all of you joining us wherever you are across the world and whatever time it is, and hope this was really helpful in giving you some insights to what it's like to be a student, and more specifically an international student at Duke University. So we hope we'll see you again on another virtual program that we host. But with that, we are going to say have a great rest of your Monday. And thank you to our two awesome panelists. Have a good day, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.